Hi, and welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and today is a very Oz Sunday. I've got my buddy Skullcap Savant. You guys can follow him on Twitter at Santorin Ben_Ben. The link is in the description below. And hopefully we're going to do more of these. I really enjoy, he's a personal friend of mine. And so we chat a lot of times during the week about different things that we see. And we really want to bring those to you and share them. So we're going to try to do a better job at doing that. Let's see what he has to say about, we're going to talk a little Super Bowl steg right after this. Give us a like and share the video. Thanks for joining us. Happy Sunday, Skullcap Savant. Good to see you.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good. So it's kind of fun. We're doing this on a Sunday and talking about like some, lots of Sundays are used for ritual and that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk about it in a little different manner. Some of the things that they put out in the open. And then you can choose to look at it or not.
Disclaimer to the audience. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're coming off, we wanted to do the show closer to having come off the not the hind legs, but the coming off of the aftermath of the Super Bowl. But we had some things happen this week, had to reschedule. So sorry if the themes are a little bit stale, guys. It's only a week since the Super Bowl, but
so that is so crazy that like news is coming out so quickly, which that was in Cliff's data. He warned us all about that. So like a month's worth of news in a week or a week's worth of news in a day. And that's where we are.
What do you say? There will be days when decades happen, or they think is what?
Something like that. Yeah.
And I mean, it's certainly been the case, but what we'll say at the beginning of this is, it's Super Bowl stuff, but secrets revealed, UFO file, all of the hidden technology. This is actually what's related to the specific rituals that we're going to point to.
Right.
And we're going to actually cover the gamut of three specifically Super Bowls that seem to be woven together in a connected ritual over the course of about 7 years. With the Eagles winning this year, it actually bookends a 7-year span from when they won last. And we'll get to this by the end, but there is your double-headed eagle, which is kind of your Roman crest, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. So this is what I suspect some of these themes are. We'll do our best to kind of speculate on them and claim some sort of way that we can look at it to kind of couple with the event stream unfolding with everything else that people are anticipating with what is coming out with Doge, with Trump, with everything else.
Well, and one of the things that kind of encompasses all of this is they're getting ready for the big disclosure on JFK's murder, assassination attempt, the Trump assassination attempt. There was something else. And then also in the statement, if you read the thing from Anna Paulina or whatever, or maybe it was Pam Bondi, I can't remember, one of the two of them, it says, and UAP extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like, why would they be linking? And that's what we're going to go into and kind of point everyone down these different rabbit holes. But why are they talking about JFK's assassination, Trump's assassination attempts, and extraterrestrial life? Seems odd.
That's right.
That's in a government document.
So to the viewer, maybe this is going to be, Lisa and I have been talking about this being a series potentially too, where I try and cross-pollinate some of my researches into the annals of her channel a little bit. And for those unfamiliar, my work centers around the decoding of steganography, I'll give Lisa a link here so she can
that'd
get up
be
into
great.
where you can find my Rumble page if you want to ever look at my tapestry of investigation. I started finding patterns in the way things were being broadcast in social media, in pop culture in general, sports, movies, music, the way history was unfolding in the public eye, at least since World War II. And what I found was that steganography is something that I had to attach to explain what was happening. I had to figure out, like, okay, why is this glyph, this character that we call the letter V is in Victor. So what you see,
Almost
the
sounds
V
like
cipher community is blanketed all over the place. And it's, why is it attached with a pattern? There's a pattern here that it's attached and used in certain ways. And so what I determined was that it's like, oh, this is, I went on a quest to find out what, if anything, this is a technique by way of to do something with. And I stumbled on and found steganography to be this encoding mechanism that is even used in day-to-day life today by people that create ciphers. It's an occlusion layer that, like a decoder ring from the Ovaltine and the Christmas Story movie, or anybody that grew up in that era, where a number corresponds to some other letter, but it doesn't have necessarily a pattern that you can associate to it unless you've got the decoder ring. And that layer of encoding and ciphering is called steganography. You can do it with watermarking on bills. You can do it with watermarking on screen on a visual representation of an LCD screen, or you could even simply put a character in plain sight that means something else, but means a thing to the public differently, right? So
I was just scrolling through my pictures because I'm trying to find, because I'm really attracted to, or seem to resonate with, the Z-Steg. And I know you focus on the V-Steg, so we talk about that a lot together. But there's a picture of the Masonic symbol, and it has the compass, which is a V, and the angle, or the square. It's called a square. Those are both V's. And then you had told me, well, a Z is really just two V's sideways.
And in my further research, the Z is just another glyph. The things that have been used the longest period of time, it seems, have the most power because the most meaning has been able to be established over time with its incidence. And the straight lined characters, things like the letter I, the letter L, the letter Z, the things that especially both capital and lowercase are only designated with straight lines, the letter K. These are actually a class of our alphabet characters they call glyphs, the straight line characters. So I think there's actually quite a bit of meaning behind each one of those. And, I just haven't ever had the time to do
and
the overall investigation
everywhere.
on all of them.
Like, here's another example, just to give you guys an idea. Notice Melania's dress is typically a com. Well, what's on Melania's dress? A Z. Do you know about JFK Jr.'s tattoo? It is this Z with the sword through it.
That's right.
And then we'll get into some more of that later. But anyway.
Comms is a really elegant way just to put it. Steganography conveys comms through occluded meaning. You can probably say pretty accurately about, and if you have the decoder ring, you can see what the meaning is. So with that as kind of, again, a primer for people that have never tuned into one of these streams. I don't do them with Lisa all the time, so you can of course completely be forgiven if you don't remember what the baseline is here. But through the work, and actually there's a lot of cross-pollination and referencing that people in this community, they know Bix Weir and his work with the Wizard of Oz. Well, at some point there was a point where the Wizard of Oz story and themes and things that he talks about with the financial collapse and what Oz portends for that starts to blend in with other aspects of mind control, malfeasance in ways that whoever's using these glyphs, this glyphs in a way of steganography to hide meaning, to maybe cast spells on the unsuspecting public, I started blending these together. And where it comes to today's show is that the Super Bowls have a thematic quality of broadcasting a lot of things, as we know. We all look at the halftime shows now to find the symbolic meaning. Everybody's kind of tuned into this. But beyond the symbolic meaning of it, people look pretty rotely at, you know, even the Kendrick Lamar thing, the fall of America, game over, and, you know, these things that they saw in the Super Bowl halftime show this year. But, you know, it's really, it has never satisfied the complete picture to me. So today, like we mentioned, Super Bowl 52 was when the Eagles won the first one, and I call that the Glass-Steagall Bowl.
And what
like the
year was
Glass-Steagall
that?
Act, which in U.S. Bank Stadium, which is made out of glass.
Nice.
It's the only stadium in the NFL that's completely made out of glass. And
what year was that? What year?
That was Super Bowl 52. So that would be 2019, 2018. Is that what it was?
Or was it 17? Let's see.
I forget the exact year, but it was 7 years ago from now. But I think it would be 18 then. Yeah.
Oh, it would be 18. Yeah.
So that one was in Minnesota, and we'll get to some meaning behind that. Remember, associated with the V-Steg, as we go through today, there's some things. The Wizard of Oz is something to pay attention to. The theme of purple and gold, and the UFO file, and why are all these connected? And then we had them win last week, Super Bowl 59. But in the middle, there was Super Bowl 54. And I want to open today talking about that, if we can. Again, paying a little bit of homage to Bix and picking apart and showing people how much of the Super Bowl halftime show in 54 was a ritual for the road to root a collapse of the monetary system. So do you think that we can pull up the video of that and we can maybe just watch one of my decodings that I did?
Well, I'll wait till we talk about 59. The logo on 59 is a comm in itself.
Oh, what's the 59 logo?
I have to show you.
The one with all of the New Orleans
Glicks.
Flares and stuff. Licks. Oh, there's a Glicks thing in there?
There's a Glicks in there.
Oh, really?
So if you Google it, G-Licks.
Oh.
Glicks. Then L-I-X and silver. So I don't know. To me, that's a Glicks.
That one got by me.
And V-Steg or 2Z, or the X is VV mirror. Think mirror.
Yeah, the X is if you really, it's apparent when you look at the XRP logo, and things like that's two V's. It's a lambda and a V. By the way, lambda and V-Steg, like she's talking about, they're mirrors of each other. So lambda is something that comes up a lot in the V-Steganography also. Especially like mind control.
You must have your they goggles on, or what is it? Is that the right movie?
No, They Live goggles.
They Live goggles to watch this episode. If you don't have your own They Live goggles, then you might not understand what we're talking about.
We'll do the best we can. The lexicon itself is up to us to help it be more palatable and understandable to people.
To bring people to understanding this, because it's really exciting. When you start seeing it, you start seeing it everywhere.
Exactly.
Here's what you had asked me to bring up. This
So
Decipher community.
So let's start with this, and start unfolding this. You've never seen this either, so you're watching this fresh for the first time. This is a video I did Super Bowl 54. So that was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that's how old this thing is now.
Look, you're just a baby there.
I'm just a baby. That's two residences ago. So yeah, here I am. This is the early days of the work while I'm picking it apart, and my mind is still being blown a little bit every time I'm going through this. I'm sussing it out. I'm not totally 100% on any of this stuff, but the curiosities are just piling up over and over and over with patterns. And this was one of those moments where I just had to stop and laugh, because it was one of those paths in life where I'm so entrenched in Bix's work at this point for almost 10 years. I found stuff when I was in college on the college intranet. That's how I found Cliff stuff too.
Wow.
Back before, like how they have SharePoint servers in companies now with the company intranet, and they have all of their files and documents stored inside their internet silo. That's how file sharing happened before Dropbox and all this stuff. And so when you were in college, you just had these intranet servers, and all the students that were there, they'd load up music and, you know, movies and all that kind of stuff. But I was looking for stuff that people were posting that was interesting, and I actually found Bix's stuff and Cliff stuff in the college intranet.
On the intranet of the college. That's interesting because most of that is, you know, academia is not the most open-minded.
Well, it wasn't even, it was an environment controlled by the students.
Okay.
It was just a big file sharing arena that the college let the students share things across, because we didn't have the internet back 2006, 2007, and 2008 when I was finding this stuff. You know, it wasn't conducive to fast throughput. You couldn't stream stuff. Netflix wasn't streaming even. We were still getting the discs in the mail in college. And so that is kind of, at this point, 10 years beyond that, had built up. My work and researches with this weird esoteric realm of steganography and what it means and how it's used and who's using it all culminates here with some speculation that I have. But this is kind of a lock-in moment for me when I saw this halftime show, because as I've shown on here, everybody's seen, probably, if you've seen Bix's work, his relative parable decode of the Wishes and Rainbows comic books, both of them, the one that came out in 1980 or 1981 and the 2007 version. And they were only changed very slightly, but Bix very accurately decoded all these things that were memorialized in the pages as it relates to this Oz ritual that's unfolding relative to the banking collapse even, and the silver rig. So there's your setup. Go ahead and hit play, and we'll just watch me for a second talk about this.
Yeah, let's do that. This also plays into, as far as current events or timing. Today, they're calling for Elon to audit the Fort Knox. And so,
oh, really? He's going to do that now? Oh, I didn't hear that.
So that kind of is the current event moment that ties this all together with the silver. Like, what will they find? So,
good deal.
Gosh, the clock's going to go off. I hope they can hear this. It should be short. Maybe I'll delay. Just a second. It's my husband gave my mother his mother's grandfather clock, and she loves it. It's wonderful. It's really nice, but it's noisy. Okay, here we go.
Plug-in, we're going to be referencing in the very Super Bowl ritual this Wishes and Rainbows Road to Ruta theory. And I'm going to show you how it's blatantly right in front of our eyes, where the Wizard of Oz stuff factors in and melds with Bix Weir. So I guess we might as well just dive into here. So anybody who's read his stuff and knows about the Wizard of Oz knows the Emerald City is the theme here for, you know, where the yellow brick road leads. And again, guys, the Bix Weir stuff is wonderful. I've got the sound turned off on the Super Bowl thing because it's going to get a copyright claim otherwise. So we're going to be watching this without sound. I'm guessing everybody can go get the Super Bowl video. I'll link this in the description too. But I'm starting at the 8-minute and 17 mark because this is actually where the Emerald City ritual begins. And this is actually where they're introducing Jennifer Lopez. I think back at the beginning, you've got Shakira. The one image that was striking with Shakira is that she was in rope. Some sort of bondage with rope right here. And she kind of cast it off. And of course, that goes back to the tarot, the devil card we've talked about with the X and the V steganography. We'll get to that by the end of the video too. But at the 8:17 mark, we have the Emerald City ritual starting to play out. And here comes Jennifer Lopez. And just like in the Tin Man analysis that Bix Weir does, you've got the silver kind of witch character here. And clearly all of the green Emerald City symbology. We're not going to go too deep into this stuff because we do have a lot of ground to cover. There's a ton to cover here, but she does this whole cross ritual.
Silver's crucified on the cross.
Like Silver's kind of, crucified up here, and all of these people down below are the slaves. That's what the bondage with the devil card was all about. Was the bondage. You have all these people enslaved by the silver rig. And I'll pause it right there. That's our first term of the day, Sesame Street style, silver rig. And as you guys can see,
they just had that
concepts
video
we covered in
just
the
for
channel. I've
talking
already
about the
pointed to
Sesame
in my
Street.
playlist,
Sorry.
Star of David.
In how the USAID spending was paying for this, like Sesame Street. God, where was it? Was it in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was like
Or
the
Iraq
Iraqi,
or
or yeah, I think it was Iraq. And it's an old one. They produced it like in the 90s. It's bought, paid for, and produced, and you know.
But my point is the same language.
I know. It's funny that it comes up, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see on my list there though, on those terms, you see the 119.
Oh, hold on. I have to
The 119, which is the reverse of 9/11, and this all goes
Yeah.
into this
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And you see all these terms
Time and
in
Money,
the English
Nikola
ordinal
Tesla,
that
Star
equal.
Wars, George Lucas. No, wait, that's 311. Ooh, maybe 311. Maybe March.
113. This is cool. If you've never looked into specifically lies, deceit, mistruths, bullshit, all of these things all equal 113 in gematria. So literally anything that is denoted as something that you can use as a placeholder for not telling the truth, it always equals 113 in gematria. Like we don't have a programmed language, you know.
George Lucas, 113. So I wonder if the truth will be revealed on March 11th. Also, look at the next one down, Titanic 76.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the 76th president, supposedly? Was that the Titanic of the deep state going down?
You see here, though, too, San Francisco and Kansas City were the two teams playing. Every time that you get the real big Oz rituals in these Super Bowls, of course, it's Kansas City that's in it because we're not in Kansas anymore. Toto, you know, it's all the
Fed is in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve Bank.
Exactly.
Like their center thing.
So anyway, there's your freeze frame for the. Scroll up a little. Is this the whole screen? Is it cutting off the top part of the screen?
I don't know. It shouldn't be, but well, maybe I might have. I wonder if I have it on like zoomed.
Oh,
full screen like that.
Makes sense. Oh, it just looks to me like it's not scrolled up all the way or something. I don't know why, but that's okay. It's not really affecting any of what we're talking about.
Okay. I think because you mean like this?
Yeah. You see there was stuff on the top there. I was wondering where the other terms were.
And Groundhog Day.
Yeah. We can get it. Groundhog's Day 2/2. Groundhog's Day is always weird. Ritual day for V steganography. V is also the 22nd letter of the alphabet. So in gematria, V equals 22. And so when you start to see 22 stuff all over the place, that's a form of V-Steg because again, it's just the swapperoo, the ciphering, the decoder ring aspect of what's happening with that particular glyph. The days that we also denote, V days, like Victory Day or Valentine's Day, or things like this to this nature also factor in pretty heavily. You'll find when you look into this stuff over time, but.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, and I put it in the chat really quick because I was like, Elon's parents supposedly made their riches in emerald mines.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one too. Yeah, so that's probably V-Steg also, and
Emerald City.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
That's
good job on that one too. You've given me like 3 of them already today that
I'll make you.
I haven't really considered in the past.
That's why it's so fun to have these conversations because I'm learning stuff from you and then you hear something that resonates with you. And, they say when you hear the truth, you can feel the truth. Like,
right,
when somebody's BSing you and you feel the truth that resonates with you. So anyway, I love this. This is a lot of fun. Okay. Should we play more?
Yeah. Continue to play. I want people to see, well, you got to give props to Bix for finding this stuff out, irrespective of
amazing
anything else. He's the man.
It's still his fault that now we're all down these rabbit holes.
I know, probably.
Which is the Merkaba. This is the energy structure underneath the earth that Cliff High's talked about, where he talks about Samuel Warren Carey's work, the expanding earth, Nikola Tesla, the Star Wars program, and also all of these are 119, 119, 119, just like 9/11, the reverse of 9/11. When did the repo market start to collapse? 9/11 of this year. When did Nikola Tesla's technology, Star Wars space program technology that was installed in the 80s in the Reagan administration under the Bushes? Like we've covered on this channel, guys, just again, watch the playlist. Using Nikola Tesla's technology, this is how they're tying in, of course, some of these gematria terms to these very rituals. But anyway, bondage of slavery by the silver rig kept the economic system is keeping everybody enslaved, right? So we continue on with this video. She kind of spins around, whatever here. It's worth me saying. She's singing. Waiting for Tonight. Waiting for Tonight is the song she's singing, and this was interesting to me because we've got this whole concept of year zero, and year zero is 2020. And we also know that the Super Bowl was on Groundhog's Day on 2/2/2020, and so you have numerology of 22 on both because zeros get canceled out. So the year 2020 and 2/2. What is she waiting for tonight? What is the ritual saying? What are the wizards that are controlling these rituals saying about waiting for tonight? Is there some sort of transition regarding silver that happened on the second in terms of markets? Because another video that I'm going to reference is Greg Gammon here. And we'll go back to this after the Super Bowl video is over. But
I love
starting with this coronavirus stuff, we all of a sudden have a China component here.
It's his nickname.
That's related to some sort of economic warfare. Waiting for Tonight, was there supposed to be something timed with this Super Bowl ritual that we don't know about, that has something to do with a new paradigm regarding year zero? See all of these 22 lineups. And you go over here. We've got plenty of 22 lineups with the CFTC and Apple and Nazi, and I've lined these up the best I can. But we have the F-22 Raptors being retired in 2012, like we've covered in other videos. It seems like also the reset scenario. Reset was 22. That was what I was talking about with
56 is 22 also.
Oh,
I have it up
2/2 this February 2nd, which was Groundhog's Day. By the way, guys, Groundhog Day. We have some real interesting stuff regarding, and Bixus is another one for you, dude. Bart Chilton. And I'm if you don't know much about gematria, this is the encoding of the Hebrew practice of encoding letters into numbers, and the elite ritualize this stuff. The very wizards that you talk about in your video, dude, they use these codes. So they tie all of these events together. And Kansas City and San Francisco were playing in the Super Bowl. Bart Chilton is related to this whole silver rig process by way of this. And we'll get more into the gematria as we go along.
Bart Chilton just died back then.
The video I got to keep playing because there's so much stuff packed in this. We got to get to it. So Waiting for Tonight's the song, and all of a sudden, boom.
The floor drops out.
With
the ground falls away. The emerald ground falls away, and a Tesla coil is revealed. Literally a friggin' Tesla coil, as if the old system is falling apart. Year zero component, right? And Cliff High's talked about this in his data, where the future, the 2020s, the soaring 20s, it's going to be a weird friggin' time. And Niagara Falls, this is all Tesla symbology because you've got the Tesla coil in the middle, and Niagara Falls, the famous generator system that he built and intuited out of his dreams using the hydraulics of Niagara Falls. We've got the Emerald City component. Seattle, remember, if anybody knows anything about.
Okay.
I was not yet on the Buffalo things from the recent thread back then either. Like I am now, and we probably can't even get to Buffalo themes today because we've got too much to cover with Super Bowls. But Niagara Falls. Everybody should remember the year zero, right? I think we all probably will, by the way, look back on the time that we're talking about and designate that was year zero. That's when the calendar reset. And we're just in year 5 now, right? And we're just simply in year 5 of after weird.
Speaking of calendar resetting, which we won't have time to get into this either, but the whole black box, we're in the 4th dimension, interdimensional travel, that maybe this dimension, and you know how they're talking about getting rid of, we're coming up on another spring forward, fall back thing, and they're talking about getting rid of the time change. I think time, and I think we have been trapped in this dimension, which is in the fourth dimension, that's time. So one dimension is a point, or maybe that's 0, I don't know. And then it's a plane, then it's the grid. 3 dimension is a sphere, which that may have been part of the trap when people were in the sphere. But then I think we're in the 4th dimension where we're in a prison of time. And so
I'm right with you. I think exactly what you think about the prison of time.
The little black boxes the Jewish guys wear on their head and they nod and pray.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, here's the thing is
black box.
If you really break it up, the black box is Saturn, the black cube of Saturn.
Yes.
Saturn is Chronos, chronology, tracking of time. And there's also, I don't know if we've talked about this on your channel or not, but I'm of the mind Saturn. You see this new painting I have, by the way?
No. Oh yeah, behind you. I did. I was noticing it when we were talking.
This is kind of a representation of what we're talking about. Here's the space guy. Saturn's up here.
Yep.
This is the moon up on the top, and then you've got Venus over here. And it's crazy to me. Like this was an artist named Chris Jacob, who we actually represented in the gallery here. Cool. That I got to meet and kind of rub shoulders with. But when I moved up here, I saw this painting, and he doesn't know anything of my work. These are all of the components for my work. The eye with the earth melting, to me, represents all of these aspects of these things, and the mind control, the melting of your mind in your mind's eye, right?
Look at the shape of that. Think about the missing flight and the plasma orb. And then the plane went through it and went to another dimension. If you watch the movie Interstellar, at the end of it, it talks about like, we don't have to change our physical location. That's how this plasma free energy.
Yeah, I really dispute that gravity is a dimension, of course. Like they ascribe in Interstellar.
Negative gravity is. So gravity.
Well, here's the thing. Gravity is just the result of magnetic acceleration of two objects toward each other, and magnetism is really the force at play. Gravity is just a calculation of a resultant magnetic acceleration of two objects combining toward or
distraction from the truth, because they didn't want people to know about the power of magnets or magnetism or anti-magnetism, repulsion, propulsion with magnets. So they start talking about gravity. We'll dumb them and call it something else, and they don't know
because really what you should be looking at, like you're saying, is time, not gravity.
Yes.
What are we really? And that's actually these books here. If anybody cares, these are some books to get. AP Levick's Investigations into Time. There's a 2-part series. This one's kind of hard to get. It's really a dissertation about studying Nikolai Kozyrev's experiments.
Oh, okay.
Nikolai Kozyrev was the guy that set the mirrors up in the Arctic circles, so he had less interference, and he was able to conduct experiments in a way such that he could prove that time was probably, most likely, a substance. And kind of like the ether is this fifth element. Well, time is this other thing that you can manipulate. And like you're saying, how possible is it that we're in a prison of that?
I believe we are. But I think that's part of what everyone's worried about, like the end of the world and something, whatever. Like, I think whatever ends up happening may be a positive thing, and we get to jump to that 5th dimension, and then we're out of
jump dimensions. I just think we'll get out of the soup. We'll get out of the soup. That's the goal, in my opinion.
You have to watch Interstellar and at least watch the end of it. But they unpack it, and they say, like, it goes to travel. You stay in the same point in the graph. You are a point, because our DNA is a code, is an address. We are the same address, no matter
Well, really, consciousness, our own consciousness
Yes,
is even the original address of
where it's an
ourselves.
address.
Yeah.
And so your address does not change, but you could travel, you could use that word, by changing dimension. It would put your address in a different location if you change dimensions. Like if I looked at my address on 2D, it might look like I was here. But the minute I folded the paper and went 3D to be a sphere, I could be over here.
And you don't even need to fold the paper. It's all entangled so in a mesh that, you know, that's how we just have to figure out the mechanisms of that
to realize we're being trapped in the 4D.
Yeah. And back to Saturn, the rings of Saturn are some of the most unnatural things in the moon itself is very unnatural, but the rings of Saturn are also unnatural. And we'll get into this maybe another show where we
I'm getting
dive into the possibility of Saturn itself being a time device.
Yes.
A time instrument that is being broadcast at us to do this, right? That's my speculation. It's kind of spooky stuff, but
I love it.
Anyway, it factors in, you know, to the Super Bowl ritual, like we're talking about the trapping of these ideas in time. So to reset everybody, sorry for the tangent, everyone. But again, we're back to the Super Bowl 54 here. The floor is just falling away. The themes of the Tesla technology, UFO, secret tech future are being conveyed, and the Emerald City secrets are clear as day with the silver rig ritual center stage.
There we go.
Seattle is called the Emerald City. And see how this plays in. So the ground falls away. Niagara Falls pours in all the Nikola Tesla new paradigm. And by the way, I've got this pulled up again. Remember, go see this movie, The Current War, because the current war is the current war being fought in the shadows. It's all about Tesla's technology versus this Edison paradigm that we're under right now. Okay. And so this is another hint. This movie that came out this last year, very kind of underneath the radar, it's mostly about Westinghouse and Edison, and Tesla was only on the side. But this movie, guys, is the whole steganographic, or maybe not as much steganographic with this, but symbolic component of this is that this is the current war being fought, this proxy war of economic and new technology paradigm proportions. And that's what we're getting here with this rituals. And silver is, we're still enslaved to the silver system here as we're coming in. So this guy comes in, and Bix, you'll love this, dude. If you ever watch this video, this guy comes in with a shirt that says "Made in Medellin," but if you look at his shirt, it's a flower. It's a rainbow flower.
Okay.
I remember, guys, I was showing you his site here. Or was it? Oh, it was this one, Wishes and Rainbows. The whole concept of this Fed comic book that got released is that Colorland is going to be reestablished out of the black and white, which is the gold standard, and this representation of gold standard. Who else was playing in the Super Bowl again but the 49ers?
And doesn't it make sense
the gold rush situation, and it just to go back,
the rain
find I think 49ers in here somewhere. Where was it?
Back to the people.
I put Titanic in here because Titanic was all connected as well with these events. And
you didn't even know
how that works. But where was the
76, the Titanic?
Yeah,
I don't know if I put the 49er one in here. But what was really all about, of course, was Joe Montana, and because he played for both San Francisco and the Chiefs. We'll get into that again. I guess I keep going away from this, but Bix, if you look at his shirt, this is his shirt, and that's another video. I don't want. You can just see on the shirt the Colorland flower is all I'm getting at.
You can probably find a better photo.
It matches up with the Road to Ruin theory, and so what he comes in to do, he's got the black shirt, which represents the black oil in the comic book, and then he's got
the little black droplets of oil
flower. It says "Made in Medellin." He's a Colombian rapper. I looked into him. His name is J Balvin.
Oh,
but he comes onto stage anyway, with all these other flowers behind him.
And did you see the blue and pink?
He's dancing around, and she's doing her seductress thing. Now we don't have anybody in bondage anymore. Now we've got women dancing around. They're, they don't seem to be enslaved.
So hit pause.
Almost. Now they're kind of, they're in sync with her. They're not like bowing down to her.
What I probably didn't emphasize enough is that the bondage is gone. The men are gone. They're out of slavery. And then Silver's like no longer sacrificed on the cross, and they're women that aren't in bondage, but only after Colorland is established on stage. And then Silver's like got all this new reinvigorated energy kind of a thing, right? Isn't it weird?
Well, and right now, I mean, some people, not that we're not already talking woo-woo, but believe that, like, there's a lot of women judges that are being put in. And like traditionally in tribunals and like in the tribe world, it was the women that were like running the communities or whatever.
Yeah. The matriarch.
It was a matriarch.
The patriarch and the matriarch are necessary. That's what I hate about today's terminology. Oh, it's a patriarchal society. And it's like, well,
it's a partnership. But if you think about community, like women are more, it matters to women to hold the community together. And the part of the reason, to just be real factual, that they could trace the bloodlines if you did it through matriarch, because the child had to physically come out of the woman's body. So there's proof. Otherwise, well, he might be his son, but we don't really know.
Yeah.
So that's just to be really factual and not politically correct.
Right.
I prefer to be not politically correct.
Exactly.
The not part.
So, with all of this, the matriarchal thing, by the way, like, there's the Venus right here. It's the goddess. This is the other part of my work, is that there's in the background, I found the way that V-Steg is being used probably as a template for locking in certain mind control beats across all these popular media outlets. But I also found a lot of things that it may be being used as a counterspell against itself, like, or another faction is using the same steganographic kinds of techniques to let us know that these are there. The way that I've always thought that the V-Steg works, in fact, is kind of like a reverse of the way people understand remote viewing to work, where you know how remote viewing tasking is given, right? Somebody has an inquiry, they write it down on a sheet of paper in a random set of letters and numbers, and then it's given to the remote viewer. And the remote viewer is somehow able to decode from all of these letters and numbers, just by thinking about it, the accuracy of the representation of what was encoded in that set of numbers, right? Well, if you can consider for a second that that's real, that's okay, these remote viewing guys do this. We see the evidence of it. That's pretty spooky. We don't really understand the dynamic of it relative to those random letters and numbers that are put down on the paper. But if that's the case, and that's an actual effect that you can achieve, imagine if somebody was purposeful about it and they programmed the glyph. They didn't program the idea into random sets of letters and numbers. Instead, they use very purposeful sets of letters and numbers that have established meaning, like V, like Z, like all these glyphs. And if they have that established meaning and they know what it means, it actually maybe even packs that kind of a meaning into it when they use it with that purpose. So them just slapping a big V on a movie poster might just look like a design element to the unsuspecting eye, but
I don't know.
What's that?
Or Donald Trump's face.
Exactly. Well, yes. To me, this was a very, very sophisticated ruse. In my eyes, a way of thinking, that is V-steganography, of course, to indicate this is kayfabe. This is an act. Was he really in danger that day? Yes, I think so. I think the guy that was shot in the audience, I think that he was the real assassin. I think they caught him, and I think they shot him. And people don't really look at these things with that lens without the steganography. That's the thing. Did Donald Trump put himself into harm's way on purpose so that could happen? I think so, yes. He was actually a target that day, but the intel that his side had far outweighed the other side. And the steganography itself, used by his good faction, remember, here's an example of maybe how it's used to push things forward. Because it was that moment. It was a galvanizing moment. You want to capture that moment. You want it to be something that you can use to carve people outside this milieu of mind control that they're in. So to me, yeah, it was a very, very, and you can watch my decodes on the more recent stuff. You and I can get into some of that stuff if you want to at another juncture.
Yeah,
where I actually have done these kinds of decode videos on that very thing. But yeah, these are the ways by which they're embedded, they're planted, they're cast, just like casting a spell, casting something into a mold, like even a sword or a tool. You have to cast it into existence. Otherwise, it doesn't have the effect at all. But anyway, yeah, that's
so the LIV halftime, and then literally when I said look at the logo of this one, so this one, the logo of this, see down here in the bottom left, LIV, and then this year was X.
LIX, yeah.
So a V up and a V down. It was the mirror. Just another confirmation that it was the mirror.
It's very possible.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if there's actually too much else here from this halftime show either to derive. Super Bowl 54 was, the Super Bowl that presided over the beginning of COVID also.
Okay.
We had not yet gone into lockdown. This was right before a lockdown had occurred. I was tracking all the virus stuff, of course. Anybody that had a Chanboard account knew about the virus back in, November of 2019. But we had all of it, and these things here that start unfolding are very much part of my speculative process of what's happening with that, who's behind the scenes. And so if you want to talk for a second about the Glass-Steagall Bowl, then. So you had the 49ers and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 54 ritual. 49ers I kind of touched on, that was kind of all about the gold standard reset. And then you had all of the themes with the reset of the economy being done, maybe with some characters like Bart Chilton. Where'd he go? Everybody, I even remember Bix in those days. Bart, I hope you're okay. I hope you're witness protection. Yeah, and me too. And I think he probably is. Just look at how all the numerology in the gematria lines up with his involvement at that time with those key prescient markers. And you start to get kind of a more complete speculative kind of a tapestry about what this has to do with banking. But if you go back to 52 and then 59, like we keep saying,
right,
the Eagles beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. This was the last time the Patriots were there, and it was the end of the Patriot Act era, in my opinion. I actually decoded this part of it so well. I called the Super Bowl 55 winner in the preseason that year. I said, this is a foregone conclusion. The Buccaneers are going to win. It's a home game for the Buccaneers represent the Templars, which are this other faction in play here. And so I started actually then, because I had this view of Super Bowl 54, I was able to look back at Super Bowl 52 with new eyes. And that's when I started to see throughout the rest of that year, like, holy crap, we're in the middle of a banking collapse, systematic ritual over many years in the Super Bowl, it appears. Because if you go back to Super Bowl 52, Eagles beat the Patriots. Tom Brady then leaves the Patriots. Their dynasty is over. The USA Patriot Act and any sort of control that could have on the population, is it gone? The question mark. But there's all these other things. Super Bowl 52, again, I mentioned the glass stadium. If you look up a picture of the Minnesota Vikings stadium, it's completely made out of glass, and it's called US Bank Stadium.
You gotta be kidding.
And
remember how Hillary would talk about the glass ceiling all the time?
Yeah. It's going to break. And so now you have all of this stuff going on with, and I'm not even going to get into being able to reference a lot of this stuff, because we will have to do other shows if people want.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
But we have a lot of key symbolism around Minnesota anyway, because of the true founding of the country by the Templars in the 1300s. There's an artifact called the Kensington Runestone, and the Kensington Runestone was a thing that was found. It was excavated in a guy's backyard, a few dozen years back, and it was something of a relic in the way that things used to be done for land claims back in the day. The way land claims worked was you had these tablets that were inscribed with the right of owner, or right of exploration owner, right of the founding members of the people who happened upon this land and claimed it. And what you would do is you would try to strategically place these runestones in a place that touched the most water tributaries, because you could claim all of the land that water tributary touched from downstream. So if you strategically placed your runestone well enough at like Minnesota, where all the tributaries of the land of 1,000 lakes and all the tributaries kind of go from there.
Right.
The tributaries from Minnesota expansively reach like over 75% of the landmass of North America, not just the United States. And so you have, alongside banking collapse, you start to see reset of borders, reset of established founding, reset of understanding of who really owns what in the country, who found it. It wasn't Christopher Columbus. It turns out it was the Templars that were here after they, and we're talking about the Cathari Templars, the people that escaped the all of the terrible, horrible, murderous purging that happened with the church. These are smart mother effers, and many of them got away under subversion and misdirection, and they sailed over here. And this is the story that you find maybe underneath all the V-Steg. What were the Cathari Templars? Well, they're really good at banking, and it wasn't usury banking. It was banking how it would be done, kind of like how we see today with perfect banking, blockchain. Blockchain is kind of a Templar-like invention. You find out when you look at how they used to do lending practices, and they even had the Templars even had assistance practices for banking. There were at some point associated with the Cistercian monks. The Cistercian monks were an order, again, that were totally charitable, just like the Templars didn't take money for healing people, for teaching people. They were very rich because they had coffers. They would do the exploits that the Cathari would touch the social order with, gained them money. It just did. And the Cistercian monks would be given land all the time, just because it was the charitable thing to do. And most of the time it was unproductive land, and they knew how to make it productive. Put some sheep on it for 5 years and I can grow stuff on it. Yeah, it's rocky now, but they'll eat the grass and they'll crap on the ground and it'll make it fertile, and it can shear wool. And so they gained all this money, and they had money to lend, and they would even do things like cipher the deposits, kind of like a auditor, kind of like how banking is done in blockchain through private keys. If you have those, you have access to the account. So say you had somebody that you've got the Khazarians. The Khazarians are contemporaries at this time, right? And you need to get to China, and you need to go around Khazaria to get there. There's no way that you're going to do it without it. But you don't want to carry your net wealth on your person while you're going through this treacherous journey. you'd go find your trusted Cathari Templar banking institution, and you'd make the deposit there, and you'd give them your money. They would take it, and they'd give you a note, and the note would be steganography at its finest. It would be a note like that said something very unassuming to a loved one that you're going to visit in China. But it was a coded document. So all of the seed phrases for what needed, so to what the banker in China, the Templar banker at the banking center in China might need to decode the note, was all there in the note. So you take the note, you go around Khazaria. Hey, some bandits stop you, and they try and pillage your brigade, and they'd find nothing except for this note. You have nothing. You poor,
Right.
they'll just let you go at that point. The idea was most of the time they wouldn't just. People wanted the money. They wanted your wealth. If you didn't have anything, they'd beat you up and send you on your way. But at least you'd have the document still, because why would they take this love letter to your loved one that's in China,
The note
where your destination is? But the idea is when you got there, the banker, the Templar Cathari banker on the other end, would have the document and say, "Oh, okay, there are those seeds," and then somewhere on there would be how much they owed out of the deposit. Oh, here's your money, and they wouldn't charge anything for that. That you just had to be in network. You needed to be a friend of them. They wouldn't do this for their enemies. But you see these are, when you start to look into the systematic framework of how they even did things. My only point is you can actually maybe start to speculate on a hidden hand that these guys are playing in here. Mm-hmm. We've always heard Bix talk about the good guys. We've even heard Cliff talk about the self-organizing collective. I think these are all one and the same. I think even Cliff probably is wise to the history of this self-organizing collective. I think he might be wink, wink, nod, nodding at us with all this latest Cathari stuff. I actually have really enjoyed that he's on this Cathari bend lately. But these are just pieces of food for thought, I think, for people that, as we're looking at these rituals, how is banking involved? Why are these glyphs here? All high level. Why the thinking is such the way that it is? Why we speculate in these realms. So if the banking collapses to happen and Glass-Steagall is to be the pin that gets pulled, what happens? And I wonder if US aid is eventually going to get to the point where we just abolish Glass-Steagall, and that's the final grenade. Or is it FASB 56, Catherine Austin Fitz's missing money investigations, right?
But now that it's exponential of that at this point of what Catherine Austin Fitz found. I mean, now it's...
Well, I think it was exponential to begin with. She only found 21 trillion missing that she could account for, remember? And now it's like 36 that you can account for, but how many quadrillions got funneled off books?
Well, and you're starting to see like Kristi Noem doing a clawback on FEMA. And if they find the pathway of the money, the funds going one way, they could, in theory, reverse stream, and the dam could break. Like Barron Trump tweeted today, "Get ready, the dam's about to break." And then, like Bix always says, there can't be deciders. That's why he gets so upset when I was learning about Nasera Jacera and asking him about it. And he's like, "No, it's the Rocha Bruta." I'm like, okay, we can call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But in the way that I guess Nasera was talked about in the 70s or early on 80s, maybe, there were always these deciders. Well, there doesn't have to be a decider if the flow is reversed, if the stream goes the other direction, because we know how, and once we know, and I think we all know, and it will be exposed through Doge and all that, where it went, then the clawbacks could start to happen. And Trump's already demanding that it be given back to we the people.
I think with the dams breaking, so I think about the tributaries we're talking about.
Yeah,
dams stop tributaries from their natural course. Also, like so the connected lands, the lands that are supposed to be connected with these tributaries, are all dammed up.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of this that you find, you know, as a theme across a lot of these weird instances where there is wealth that could be transferred, that could be gotten at, which
I
could be, you
also
know, like Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but I want to mention one of the ads I keep seeing is this sans air filter,
Mm-hmm.
and that means without. And it's on President's Day. There's a big sale for these sans air filters on President's Day. So does that mean without president? We will have no presidents. And like that
Is President's Day Monday? Is that what it is? Tomorrow?
Monday, the 17th.
Yeah, the Q17 this year and all that stuff.
It's also Clint Westwood's daughter's birthday. Happy birthday to her. So I don't know. That's where I'm just like, okay, how apropos. So it would be a 3-day banking holiday, over the weekend plus Monday. Yeah. I also thought it was strange that they're talking about, they moved Kash Patel's confirmation vote to Monday. I'm like, they're not going to be there on Monday. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
How could they move it to Monday? But supposedly the vote will happen on Monday. But will it not matter? Will something else, will the dam break? And will we see like maybe Trump
or
is
will just one of them break?
Right now, there is no president.
And how many dams are there to break?
Right.
Is it just the one? I don't know. It's probably, there's so many dams. It's like,
well, wasn't in Cliff Eye's data that the and I don't know if this was just a trigger.
Yeah.
Or if but the Three Gorges, or what is it? Three Gorges
Dam in
China.
In China was its structural integrity was challenged back in 2019. And I don't know what they've actually been able to do.
Whether it actually broke then, or if that was
broke then,
or if it's still waiting to back or happen. Anyway, but that was connected with the banking collapse.
The one I'd be waiting for, honestly, this relates to Oz too, but I would be looking for the Lake of the Ozarks Dam to break.
Oh, interesting. OZ.
Mm-hmm. So here's an interesting thing for you. Have you ever looked at the Lake of the Ozarks? It's perimeter, the shape of its perimeter.
Yeah, let's pull it up. So I'm very close to that right now.
Yeah. The series of the Ozark, the series, incidentally, this is an allegory for Oz too. They're looking to get to the Gold Coast in the first season, the yellow brick road, the Gold Coast, and the poppy fields burn when the flowers in the field burns when the empire falls. There's a lot of Oz stuff. But if you zoom into its pattern, so you see how
Warsaw, that's interesting that's the tip of it.
Yeah. You see how it's like
Poland.
Well, do you have an image search? Do an image search instead. It might actually come out better if you just look at like a flat out from satellite image of what it looks like.
Images.
So Lake of the Ozarks, like bird's eye view, maybe put. There we go.
I don't know which one you want.
Even just the one up at the top is fine, like all the way up at the top.
This one?
Yeah, that one's fine too. So you see all these little flares off of it. It's got all these little like side not tributaries, but like inlets.
Coves.
It's kind of an unusual pattern for a lake. It's not a natural lake. A lot of people don't know this either, but it wasn't a lake before 1929 when it got dammed up. Right as the Great Depression happened. And I suspect the reason is because of all the gold mines that are under there. There's a shit ton of gold underneath the water. So many gold mines were covered up with the water when they dammed it that you compare it to the Grand Canyon is the point with naturally occurring gold. and you look at how the Grand Canyon formed with a big lightning bolt, right? We in this community are much more aware of the actual formation effect of the Grand Canyon. It's a fractal. You look at it from a fractal pattern of a lightning strike. It when you look at the pattern lightning makes, for instance, in sand when it strikes, it's the exact same pattern that you see with the Lake of the Ozarks. It's the exact same pattern at the Grand Canyon. Much more extreme at the Grand Canyon, mind you. The Lake of the Ozarks is big. It's not quite as big as the Grand Canyon. However, it looks like this little canyon formation was a lightning strike. It was formed the same way. That's why you have all these little refracted inlets
off of it. Interesting.
So what my suspicion is there are more of these sites than just the Grand Canyon, and it all factors in with Oz. Who's Marty in the Ozark series? He's Meyer Lansky. He's the Jewish he's the representation of the Jewish money launderer that was working with the FBI and CIA post World War II to hide all of the technology money. So back to our dam speculation, which dams are going to break? This would be the one I would be looking at, this dam breaking for financial collapse nigh kind of a thing. Or maybe the financial collapse is already in place. And then we see the Lake of the Ozarks liberated somehow. I don't know. It'd be a tough sell for all the people that have lakefront property just to have the thing drained back out, right?
I have a bunch of friends that have houses over there, so they might be upset about that.
Anyway,
but maybe not if it opens up a gold mine underneath.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
yeah,
man, it's these times are going to be interesting to see. We've got our double-headed eagle now with the Super Bowl 52 and 59, and we'll get into some of the other banking stuff around specific Super Bowls if anybody wants to. But because the other videos I shared are essentially going into this purple and gold tie-in. Remember, I mentioned purple and gold at the beginning, and helicopter crashes this year, right? Like, let's just put it there. Yeah. Kobe Bryant had just died in a helicopter crash when Super Bowl 54 happened. He just died like the week before. And there is a distinct number 24, purple and gold, land of the lakes. The Lakers were originally from Minnesota. They were the Minnesota Lakers, the Minneapolis Lakers. They weren't the Los Angeles Lakers. It makes more sense, right? They came from the land of the lakes.
Wow.
And the Vikings are purple and gold. I mentioned Joe Montana. There were a lot of moon rituals around Super Bowl 54 also. And what does it have to do with things, right? But Joe Montana and Warren Moon were both corresponding with each other back and forth that year too. Warren Moon was in a scandal in Seattle. He was a Seahawks announcer, the Emerald City, Seattle, the Emerald City.
Okay.
And he was involved and entrenched in this sexual scandal with, it's like maybe one of these humiliation rituals that they have these rich guys go through. And he wore purple and gold for the Vikings. Who are the Vikings? The Vikings are the Templars. The Vikinger is a term that's used that just means pirate. Phoenician pirate. That's who the Templars are. The Cathari Templars. They're the Phoenicians. These are the guys that came over here. Why? And the Kensington Runestone, all to hide the Kensington Runestone. Well, when Kobe died with the helicopter crash, all of a sudden in the news, you also get all this other stuff come out, UFO related. It's the start of it. It's the COVID epidemic. It was 2020, year zero. We're off with a bang. And then you go and you look at Nixon and Elvis. And I can tell you how this all relates through the purple and gold tapestry. There are more connection points of why it's significant with Nixon and Elvis in particular. But there was a fabled meeting that took place that we now have photographs of, and I'll show you. Actually, the Smithsonian has had an article about it in 2010 that I went and found, or when Elvis went to the White House to meet Nixon.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a mystery meeting.
Yep.
And he wore a very unorthodox, the king always wore his white and gold. Well, he wore purple velour with gold ribbing
Really.
suit to the White House that day. And it
Interesting.
was kind of like the Jimmy Gleason story. If everybody's ever heard that, where Nixon took Gleason to see the UFOs in Area 51. Gleason wanted to see him, and Nixon and there's something suspicious here with this Elvis thing too.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are components to this that we'll go into deeper with the audience at some point.
Yeah.
But this year's purple and gold ritual, fly eagles fly. There's even we talked about all the game over stuff.
Yes. Oh gosh.
But there's so much stuff that was going on with Super Bowl. Here's a tweet with Saquon Barkley. He's wearing Kobe's earring. And then here's Saquon Barkley in 2019, right before he died, talking about how he reminds him of Ozymandias.
Oz. Yep.
Oz.
Ozymandias.
And Ozymandias also, it's an allegory for empire collapse. That's what the story of Ozymandias is. Oh, he walks across the ruins of this great empire, and at the foot of the statue where this great emperor used to live, it's just in ruins now, right? It's this story about the transition.
Notice the silver necklaces.
There's the silver, yeah.
That was one thing I wanted to before we end. Let me see if I can get it on here. The little visit from X this weekend to the White House. Well, there's a quick Z. I'll do a quick Z.
Oh yeah, do some Z.
Notice.
Oh, there's the thing. I was wondering what you were talking about. You're right.
Yep. And it was the day that Tulsi Gabbard is being sworn in. Now they're talking, stuff's coming out about Zorro Ranch, and you can check my Twitter for more information about that.
This is underneath Reagan's portrait. Is that where this one's situated?
Yes, this is right under Reagan. And notice the Z. And then this is the JFK Jr. showing his Z with the knife, which very much that little whip thing looked like a knife with a Z.
And you showed Melania's dress already, which tied into it.
Yeah. Oh no. Where'd my little Doge guy go? There he is, mini Doge. Little X showed up on Elon's back and shoulders and everywhere. And Elon specifically showed, and look, he's wearing this big silver chain.
Oh, did he really? He said that?
Like a gang. Yes, he pointed it out. Elon pointed it out and touched it. And like, it is like way too big for that little boy to wear.
Yeah.
But it is a silver giant like chain. Anyway, it's just all there if you want to see it.
Yeah, we'll have to structure this stuff better for the audience next if we do these shows. We get these
we get distracted.
The ideas that we need to just to get out in advance, but sorry for I apologize to everybody watching for the somewhat fragmented nature of our through lines whenever we do these, because when Lisa and I try and schedule them, stuff happens in the middle of the week. We got to pivot, and then can you do it tomorrow? Sure. And so maybe we should just do like a standing show on this stuff where it starts to build over time. Wednesdays. People can, because I know people are lost even after a talk like this where it's you and me just probably geeking out more than anything.
I think so. I think you would be surprised at how many people do see, like if you see Steg around in your environment, let us know in the comments.
Or if you think you see Steg, and we'll help you tune your understanding of it, and we'll tell you why it is or isn't in our opinion, maybe.
Yeah. But I think having the conversation is important because you do kind of unpack it for each other. Like I said some things that you were like, oh yeah, I didn't see that. Or you say all these things that I'm like, I hadn't put that together and I don't even know what that is. And, so it's great to have that conversation. That's where the community part like helps uncover. And maybe that's because that's consciousness coming together to see the truth a little more clear.
I think it's a big
Zoo
component
says,
of it.
no, we aren't lost. And Flava Flav, Fever Flav, sorry, not Flava Flav. Fever Flav says no apology necessary. So thanks, guys. But we will do these on a more regular basis. We're going to pick a time that works for both of us during the week, either Sundays or Wednesdays, and figure out that we can be more consistent with this, because I love this kind of stuff. I'd like this is really exciting to me to talk about, and especially when we apply it to current events and all that kind of stuff. So help people unpack it. So thank you so much. You're wonderful, Dan.
This is fun. Thanks for the invite once again.
Yeah.
And we will. We'll maybe Wednesdays. Wednesdays seem to work pretty okay for me. We'll see if we can lock in an actual time. Yeah,
that would be great. You guys make sure that you're following Ben on V-Cipher Community on Rumble so that you can stay up with these like epic decodes. I mean, it is just so much fun. This one is awesome. The bridges that lead to Oz, crashing the control grid. I love that one. I haven't seen this one.
If you watch really the whole series from the Super Bowl last year with Taylor Swift, it rings. If you watch all the way from that one forward, it's 7 episodes that I did as an adjunct to my original research. That some of the beats you won't recognize unless you saw some of my other stuff. But I'm always really good about that. If you want to go watch my things, I link everything in the description that you need to watch prior. I put all the reference points there for you. So you
organized, unlike me.
Unlike you don't do any of that.
I do the best I can, but I'm just to kind of put it all out there, and you're much more structured than I am, which is wonderful. That'll help.
Well, I'm a dude, and I have an engineering way of thinking about things. Because blame my dad on it, but I'm also pretty woo and scattered sometimes too, as you're figuring it out, and you don't have language for everything that's going on, and
but sometimes there's steg when there's not language. So
exactly, But the Trump ritual stuff is in those last 7 episodes I did last year. My stuff's long, guys. It takes you. It's like proper 3-hour length Joe Rogan experience type of a thing to listen to most of them. But you'll see why, if you're curious, why I think the assassination was actually a beneficial ritual to galvanize. You can look, and I think it's the nature of Oz and the time vortex that I talk about those things. The ones that are the one with the big earth and tied the clock photo, and then the one with the dog coming out of the diamond on the oil rig there.
Yeah. That's cool.
And you'll also see why I think July 19th last year was more significant than people actually give it credit for. I think that was supposed to be our Project Bluebeam experience.
And look, you put stolen time on the one from
that's why I'm in accord with what you said at the beginning of the show with
and
I talked about this stuff pretty deeply in this regarding Saturn, Lisa.
I'm gonna go watch it tonight.
I'll show you the one to watch. Scroll a couple pages back.
Okay.
If you really want to get into this time stuff, it doesn't have anything to do with my more recent stuff. But if you scroll down, go to the next page. Keep going. There it is. Saturn and the moon.
This one. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It starts there. My aha of like, what is going on with Saturn? It kind of starts with the investigation with that video. And I raised some really, even to me, confusing points that I don't know if I've completely answered for myself, but they're very strange. And this topic freaks me out. Not much freaks me out.
Yeah.
But if Saturn is an instrument, what are we supposed to do about that, right? If we're getting broadcasted with, let's use Cliff's Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance, he said, is being messed with, right? By what? How are they doing this?
I think it's more the moon.
Possible?
Right? I don't know. I can't wait to watch this.
There you go.
All right, anyway. Now 2 I have to watch before Wednesday. Well, thanks again, Ben. This is so great. I love it. And thank you guys for watching. If you liked it and you want to see more of these, let us know in the comments. And I think it is.
You can still find my Rumble page by the way, rumble.com/Skullcap Savant will get you there. I just call it the V-Cipher community. It's actually probably not a very good way to find the page. If you just look for rumble.com/Skullcap Savant, that's where I am. And it is going to be the most comprehensive place to get my stuff because half my videos have been banned on YouTube now, and it's just kind of a fragmented place. You won't get to the bottom of all of it there. So that's what I'll say about that.
And I'll put a link to the Saturn and the Moon in the description of the video on YouTube, so you guys can find it there more easily.
Right.
Thanks again for joining me. All right.
Thanks, everyone. It was fun.